Good morning, Flagler County. I'm Rich Carroll. You're listening to Flagler's Morning News on Tuesday, January 17th.
It's very dangerous. When folks flee from law enforcement, they create much more serious situation, typically, historically, than the reason they're fleeing to begin with.
It's 20 years in prison for a man convicted in a multi-county police pursuit that left 2 people critically injured. Rich Petchke has our lead story.
7th State Judicial District Attorney R.J. Larissa says the pursuit of Devontae Ivory began after police tried to pull him over.
Well, this was a very sad and tragic case. It originated in Flagler County where there was an attempt to pull the defendant over. He fled from law enforcement. He came into St. Johns County, who then took over the pursuit and also the investigation. Unfortunately, the defendant Ivory didn't stop. He continued at a high rate of speed, which resulted in a serious accident, I think on US 1 in southern St. Johns County. 2 senior citizens, 2 sisters were involved. He hit their car and their lives were devastated after that point. They had serious injuries. It required extensive hospitalization, and it also required for them to be put in a rehab center.
Larissa says the outcome could have been much worse.
We've had other cases in other parts of the circuit where these flee and eludes have resulted in the death of innocent citizens who are in their cars unsuspecting of what's going on, and in the blink of an eye, their life changes when they become the victims of the accident. So these are very dangerous and very serious charges. And I've gotten with all the sheriffs in all 4 counties, and we identify these cases and we aggressively prosecute them to make sure these folks are held accountable.
Ivory was also convicted of trafficking in heroin. I'm Rich Petchke.
This local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer, Beaver Toyota, US 1 St. Augustine, here to wow you.
You're almost getting 20% higher in population just in a square mile. It's a lot of people going to the beach now. We know we have a parking problem with the beach. This is going to be a major parking problem.
Residents may not like it, but a new subdivision that will bring more than 100 homes to Flagler Beach is happening. The City Commission approved the 112-home development on Roberts Road, despite complaints like these.
We're just going to have more people, and my taxes will go up.
You know, I see a lot of issues that are not really being addressed here.
When we have these storms just like we did the last 2, 6 weeks apart, and we start having all this water and everything, and then the water is coming off and that, draining down into the wetlands, and then the wetlands are going over and flooding, then we're all going to be flooded. I'm just kind of confused about how that works.
How are we going to be able to support them when we can't take care of the problems we have right now, and we're just going to add on top of that? It makes no sense to me.
Derek Satino, Director of Forward Planning at KB Homes Jacksonville, addressed the residents' concerns about flooding.
Adding 112 homes to the land isn't causing more water to go into the wetlands. We're actually going to be holding water on our property longer than it would be in the pre-development state.
City Commissioner Ken Bryan also asked on behalf of a resident,
what happens in the event that we have another Ian or situation like that where you have an unusual amount of water that's actually being dispersed into the property and the pond?
Satino says they build developments to withstand storms like Ian.
General codes now, you have to build to the 100-year, 500-year storm events, so those types of calculations are made within any drainage system that's put forward and reviewed and approved.
From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm Amy Cherry.
A jewelry transaction in Flagler County turned out to be too good to be true.
Recently, Flagler County Sheriff's deputies were alerted to a victim who had been defrauded earlier that day while at the racetrack gas station at the intersection of State Route 100 and Seminole Woods Boulevard. The victim told deputies he was at the gas station when he was approached by a man claiming to be from Colorado with his family and on vacation in Florida, and said he left his wallet in the hotel room. The suspect offered to sell the victim jewelry he said was worth $1,000. Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley.
This was a deal that this individual couldn't resist. They went and got the money and paid this individual, then took it to a pawn shop and determined that it was fake gold. And of course, the seller was gone and is unknown. The moral of the story is, if it's too good to be true, it probably is.
He offers this advice: only buy jewelry from a reputable business. Sheriff Staley says they're also still working to find the scammer and put him out of business. For Flagler's Morning News, I'm Karen Johnson.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's Morning News. I'm Rich Carroll.